Hey friends, welcome to my second composition art journal series. The title of this page is Happiness. I'm going to start by gluing 2 pages together. I've been doing this just as I go through the journal this time because some pages don't really require it, because if I'm going to be collaging a lot of thick material onto a page, then I don't really need to, or if I'm like doodling with something that's not going to bleed through. So I'm just going through the book 1 page spread at a time. So I'm editing this video a little wonky because I had actually started by making some handmade collage fodder, and then the colors didn't work on this page, so I saved it. So you'll see those on my next page. I'm starting with just using a makeup sponge to smear the paint all over the page. I like to try to keep it kind of random. I'm alternating between coming from the top, coming from the bottom, but sometimes you kind of accidentally make a pattern anyway. This is a potato bag that I thought, ooh, if I stretch that flat, that would make a kind of an interesting texture stencil. So I'm liking that. I'm certainly not against buying art supplies from a manufacturer, but I love the feeling of just finding and repurposing, kind of inventing my own materials. So you can see on the right there, I have a Lego board that I use as a stamp, and this potato sack thing is kind of fun. Cookie cutters are another easy, fun way to repurpose and create a little stamp. Yeah, so look around your house, see what you can make shapes out of, either stenciling or stamping. Okay, this is another found object that I have used quite a bit. It's a packaging for Zip Fizz, which is like an energy vitamin drink that I consume, probably way too much. Okay. So I'm just varying the holes so that it looks a little bit more random. I like the way it looks, kind of like maybe like a computer code or some kind of secret message. Like, what do the dots mean? How many dots? The arrangements of dots. I had those dots kind of come off the page. And now I'm going to use that same pink to kind of overlap some of the potato sack stencil there. One thing, when you are stenciling around a page, there's a tendency when we first start out to kind of compartmentalize, but don't forget to overlap. That's going to kind of tie everything together and make it feel like it all blends together, as opposed to having like separate stencils and separate areas. So the orange that I used originally was kind of dull compared to the bright pink. So I'm bringing in some of the neon orange here, and I am using this handy dandy Lego brick to create some more dot patterns. And you can do it off the page and vary it horizontally or vertically. So now I'm using a store-bought stencil with some modeling paste, and I'm going to put some flowers on it. So with modeling paste, I just use a palette knife and really goop it on. Try really hard to keep that stencil nice and flat so the modeling paste doesn't go underneath it. And then, yeah, the one thing I kind of messed up there is that I want to put more flowers on there, and so now I have to wait for that to dry until, and it mostly was dry, but I did smudge it a little bit because I have a tendency to be really impatient and I want to keep going. So I usually make lots of smudges and oopses and whatever, and then I have to try to cover it up or change it or something. But it turned out fine. And then sometimes you do get extra little blobs of modeling paste where you don't want it, so you just scrape it off while it's wet. And then you go back in. So this time I'm doing all 3 of the flowers that I want at the same time so that I don't do the same thing that I just did. And I love when you peel it off slowly, how satisfying that is to see just that texture pop up. So I'm just scraping off the little extra bits that don't really fit with my flower, and I'm using a hairdryer to dry it. Okay, so this is later. I don't know if it was the same day or next day, but the modeling paste dries translucent, so it needed a little bit of help to pop off the page. So I'm just using my white Posca marker to outline the translucent area of the flower. And I just wanted to show you from the angle how it gives it kind of an embossed look, a little bit more texture. I don't use a lot of thick texture in the composition notebook. I love looking at people's art pages that have lots of like fibers and textures, and I don't know, someday I'll probably explore that kind of art journaling. But for now, I don't keep it too thick because I want to be able to shut my book. So I am experimenting with how I want to write out my quote. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. So I like doing the lines that are not quite parallel. They just kind of go up and down and vary so that you, and then you just write your quote in between the lines. And I am varying between all caps and script to add a little bit of interest. And using this sheet of parchment paper kind of helps you line things up. So you can actually, put your ruler right under there if you want it to keep the exact lines. It's not really vital that I do it, exactly like that I practiced, but if you are working with something like that, that's one way you can do it. So when I'm writing out a title or a quote or whatever, sometimes you could just start by very simple block letters, and then you just go in and like thicken one side of it or add little dingle hoppers. I don't know, like embellish it, make it thicker. Does that make sense? So I'm using the thicker Posca pen here just on the left side of all of the letters, and then kind of framing in the letters to sit nicely on the line. And then I'm doing cursive. Ooh, remember cursive? Okay, so I'm taking a thin Posca marker and then I'm trying to add a little bit more dimension to make it pop. I do think in retrospect, the color I chose did not offer quite the contrast that I would have liked. Maybe I pull out a dark purple later that would probably have been a better choice to pop off the page. But because I used the blue, I'm trying to make up for it by shading it with the white, shadowing it. So I mean, when you look at it, it's not bad, but it does kind of blend in with the background. So I felt like my flowers needed something else to help them just kind of pop off the page. I didn't want to fill in the background completely I like a little bit of that translucence and that, being able to see the texture in the background. So I'm just using my Posca to just draw a little bit of lines there to make it pop. And also I'm going to go try to highlight these lines a little bit more. I'm trying to figure out ways to make my title or my quote jump a little bit more off the page. So here's some white. Okay, now my page definitely needs more, so I am drawing some botanicals. They're really easy. Just draw a line, and then just draw like a little teardrop coming from the line, and voila, you've got a botanical. Botanical is like the generic term for, I don't know if it's really a plant, but I'm sure there's a plant, some leaves that look kind of resembling this shape, whimsical, abstract. And then I'm going to go in with this purple. So I'm introducing the purple to the page, and just going to do a little drawing inside of the lines. And I realized too that first botanical on the left is like blue on blue. So that was part of it. I needed something to make it jump off a little bit more. So that definitely gives it some more distinction. And then I'm going to add some little round dots on top. So instead of like a flower, it's kind of, it's like yeah. So I also am going to bring in some half circles. There's a lot of circles on this page. So I am making 3 little partial circles that go off the page. Do you notice a pattern with what I'm doing? There's something about the number 3 that works. So I've mentioned this several times before. So if you take the the elements that are similar or the same shape or the same color or whatever it is, and you arrange it on the page in kind of a triangular form, it's going to bring some balance and some weight to your page. We could play a little game of how many groups of 3 does Erin have? So like each flower is a group of 3, each half circle is a group of 3. There's 3 botanicals with 3 little dots above the botanicals. Let's see, are there anything else? Did I miss anything? No, not everything is a pattern of 3, because look at my little Lego things. That has 8 dots. Okay, I need that blue on blue to pop off a little bit more. So I'm going to go outline it with white, which I like because it ties into the other flowers too. Now that I've brought in the purple, I want to add a little bit more purple on the page. So I'm going and just making kind of a loose scribbly circle over my circles, at least the ones that are exposed. If it's kind of buried, then I'm just going to leave it. And I'm also going to frame my page with a thin purple line. And this is kind of a fun way to just like, it's really easy. And when you're done, I think it adds a lot to the page. It just kind of gives it a finished feel, even though I'm not quite finished. I'm almost finished. I'm going to add a little bit more purple like in the lines. Like I said in the beginning, if I would have known I was going to use the purple, I might have used that for my quote because it would have popped off the page a little better. I mean, I thought about even going in and doing a little bit of outlining, but sometimes I can do too much to a quote and then like the words get kind of mushy. So I'm going to leave it as is, and you can still read it. And then I'm going to add a little bit more detail around the flowers so that they kind of pop off the page. Okay, I'm almost done with my page here, and I just wanted to say thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope that you are inspired and that you enjoyed watching my process. You're always welcome to borrow any of my ideas and go make some art. Come back and hang out with me again, and have a blessed day.